Let us solve this valid anagram problem. If you don't know what anagram is basically you have a word and using the same letters you can make another word. So for example, we have EVIL in this word, and using the same letters we can use another word EVIL, and they are vile together. Similarly, using these letters you can make another word, silent, listen. Our problem says we will have two strings. One is called S, another one is called T, and we have to find out if they are anagram or not. If they are not anagram, we can return false. If they are anagram, we will return true. We can easily solve this problem using a hash map. If you don't know what hash map is, let me show you. A hash map is like this. Let's say I have a hash map like this. In second bracket, I will have a key and a value. Now I can have key anything, and this key will have a value. A value can be anything as well. So just like a string, we can have integer value as well. We will use this concept. Now we have two strings, right? One is called S and another one is called T. Let's say we have one string called cat and another string we have act. Now if you look closely, we have CAT here, CAT here. So that means they are anagram, right? Now how can we prove that in our program? So we will take one hash map for this one and another hash map for this one. First of all, we will loop through this string, CAT string, and when we loop through this, we will check. Let's say our hash map name is C hash. We will check if we have C. If we have C in this hash map in our loop, first we will check if we have C in this hash map. If we don't have, we will insert, and the key is going to be C. And initially, since C doesn't exist, so we will put 1. That means we have found C one time in this word. Then we will check, does A exist in this hash map? No, A doesn't exist. So we will put A and the value is going to be 1. 1 means we have found it one time. Then the loop will go to T. Does T exist in this hash map? No, it doesn't. So we will put T like this. And we have found this one time. Okay. Now for this one, act, we will have another hash map. Let me call it A hash. And we will repeat the same process. So the loop will come to A first and it will check in this hash map, does A exist here? No, it doesn't. So we will put A as a key and the value is going to be 1. Similarly, C and T is going to be inserted right here. Okay. Now what we are going to do is, now we are going to loop through any of these hash. Like, let's say we are going to loop through this one. And we're going to check, does C exist in this hash? Yes, it does. Okay, does their value match? C was 1 and C is 1 here as well. Okay, then we go to the next one. Does A exist in this hash? Yes, it does, and their value matches. Does T exist in this hash? Yes, and their value matches. That means they are anagram. Now let's say I had something like this, like in act I had another word which is this, and here I had another one which is called this, something like this. Now when we were looping through this string right here, the loop will come right here and say, okay, does T exist in this hash map already? Yes, it does. Okay, what is its value? Its value is 1. Then you increase it to 1 more because we have found 1 more T, right? So we change this 1 to 2 because we have found 2 value in this. Similarly, let's say the loop comes to V. Do we have V in this? No, we don't. Then add it. Like this. Now, the loop will come to C, A. Okay, they exist and their value matches. Does T exist in this? Yes, it does, but their value doesn't match because T is 1 right here and T is 2 right here. That means they are not anagram, so we can simply return false. Now let us see how we can code this in Python. I have a class called solution, and inside that class I have one function which is called isAnagram, and this function is taking 2 parameters. One is called T, S, and one is called T, and they are a string. Now what is the first thing we are going to do? We are going to create hash map for this one and a hash map for this one. But before that, before we do any of that, we have to check the length of this word and this word matches or not. If the length doesn't match, then they are not anagram, obviously, right? So for example, I had cat, and for this one, maybe I had something like this. So their length doesn't match. So obviously they are not anagram. So first thing is we want to check their length. If length of S is not equal to the length of T, then return false because they are not anagram. Okay. So if their length matches, then we will come here, and first thing is we want to take 2 hash map for these 2 variables S and T. For S, I will call it S hash map. You can call it anything you like. Initially, they are going to be empty, and for T, I will take T hash map. It's empty. Now I will run through S and insert value to S hash map. For I in range length of S, this basically means our loop is going to start from 0 to range whatever length we have in S. So if we have 5 letters, the range is going to be from 0 to 5. Now what we want to do, we want to S hash map equal to, we want to assign the value, but before that we want to check if this value that we have right here, does it already exist in our S hash map or not. Now I have called it I, you can call it V because V means value. We will have all the values inside this V. So if my word is cat, and inside V we will have C first and then A and then T. Okay, so first thing we want to check, how do we check? We want to use this get method, which means try to get this key in this hash map, but if you don't find it by default, you can put 0. if we get this value in our hash map, that means it already existed, right? And if we find another one, in this case I have showed you an example with t, so t already existed, but we have found another t, so we can just add one more with it. If that is the case, then we want to add one more. But if t didn't exist, then we will just get default value 0, and 0 plus 1 is going to be 1 anyway. Similarly, in this same loop, we are going to use this hash map and insert the values because their length is same anyway, right? We have checked it right here. So if their length is same, we can use the same loop to insert values. So t hash map equal to, okay, before I move forward, I have forgot something, and that is, this is not how you assign value to a hash map. You need to mention the key. Okay, now what will be our key? We have the string s, right? We are looping to s of whatever value we are checking. If this value exists in hash map, then we simply add 1. If it doesn't exist, you get 0, and 0 plus 1 equal to 1. Similarly, in this t hash map, we can do t of v. Does this key exist in our t hash map? If it doesn't, then default value is 0. Otherwise, you get the value of this key, and then we added one more with it. Okay, our insertion is done to the hash map. Now, next step is to go through the hash map itself and check, does this value exist in this one? If it does, what is their value? Do they match? So let us do that. We can use for loop again. So for v in, I will run through this s hash map. You can use t hash map as well. So s hash map, and if s hash map of this value is not equal to what we get in our t hash map, dot get value, try to get value from t hash map. If it doesn't exist, default value is 0. Just like before what we did here, default value is 0. So if we don't get this value, in our case, let's say we had something like b. Does b exist in here? No, it doesn't. That means we can just insert, let me remove this. We can just insert b here with default value 0. So in other words, you have b1, but I have b0, meaning I don't have any b in my word. That means we are not anagram. That's what we are doing here. If this value doesn't matches, then the default value is 0. In other words, they are not anagram, so we can simply return false. But if they are matches and everything goes well, then we can simply come out of this loop and return true, because in this case they are anagram. Now I will create an instance of this class just to run it and see if it works. This is how you create instance. Now s dot is anagram. Is anagram is our method name, function name, and this function is taking s and t. So s is going to be a string, let's say cat, and t is going to be another string, act. Now we are returning true or false. So let us print it here, whatever we get in return, and let me run it, and it says true. Let me clear the console and run it again. It says true because cat and act are anagram, but if I use another word, something like this, and run it, it says false because they are not anagram.